Good morning. I'm Daniel Balis, and I was in that band.
What's up, Danny?
Grady Don, how are you, young man?
I'm wonderful, man. I'm so glad you're here.
I am very glad to be here.
Yeah.
I actually requested this.
Well, yeah. Well, we had a little...
You didn't ask me to do this. I asked you to do this because I'm a fan, and I love this podcast. I haven't listened to all of them, but I have definitely listened to the ones with folks that I've had friendships with and connections with. I've listened to Brent, Isaac, Markham, Dan Baum, probably a handful of others I can't think of right now, but I absolutely love it. And there's something about what you're doing and the people that you're interviewing that draws me to want to hear more of it. And I think it's because a lot of the guys are buddies of mine that I've known, and worked with through the years, but also there's something about my connection with this city, with Denton, Texas, that I don't know, it just feels, it puts me in a place when I hear Brent talking, or if I hear Isaac or Daniel, my mind goes to this city. And it's weird. And I'm out walking and I'm listening to Daniel Markham talk about, him when he first moved here. And I'm listening to Brent and I'm imagining Brent and Katie at their, estate over there by Ecolab. I don't even know if they still live there. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. I don't know. But I don't know. There's just such a weird relationship that I have with Denton. So it's just really, it's been great to listen. I love your interviewing style. I think my favorite was, and this is very typical of you, you're interviewing Dan Baum, and you kind of give him his introduction and everything. And then you go, Alejandro Escobedo. So how'd you get that gig? And then you just got to sit back and let him go. I love it. Just so how'd you get that gig?
Yeah. Come on. Can you get me in?
Right. Sorry, I spit on you.
I thought you were going to... my favorite thing about Dan Baum is the rumor that I perpetuate that he got fired from Slobberbone for liking Steely Dan.
I love that rumor.
I'm going to keep it going. I want to mention it as many times as I can.
Well, as absurd as it sounds, there is an element of believability to that.
Yes, that's what. Yes, exactly. That's what makes it so funny. Is it's
right.
Not as That exactly what you said. You're like, okay, that's insane, and I could buy it.
And you know what's funny? On my drive up here, going up the 35 corridor, if you want to call it that, which, by the way, holy shit, you don't want to look down at your phone at all. Once you get north of 635 and you get up to about Swisher Road,
no, man,
it is every man for himself.
It's wild.
It is life and death.
Yeah.
You want to be focused.
Oh my God.
It's crazy. But I had every intention of listening to the entire Katie Lied album on the way up here. And I got distracted by a song that somebody had sent me last night. And it made me realize I don't listen to Amy Mann enough.
Holy shit.
I don't listen to Amy Mann at all. And Amanda, my friend Amanda, who lives in Chicago, she unrelated. She's like, she sent me this song because there's a video and a friend of hers is in the video. And I listen to the song. I'm like, I don't listen to Amy Mann enough. Yeah. And she's fucking brilliant. Yeah. So yeah, I was going to listen to Steely Dan all the way up here because of the Dan Baum connection with Slobberbone. And I just got completely sidetracked and jammed out Amy fucking Mann all the way to Denton.
Do you always go to Katie Lied?
No. I'm kind of going through the catalog right now. Yeah. And I think it just came up next on the anthology and in sequence. So that's just where I left off. About 3 songs into Katie Lied. I was going to finish it on the way up.
Fucking A.
But I'm a fan. I love the Dan, and I don't think we should hate on the Dan just because maybe we don't like some of their more fanatical followers.
Yeah. It's a tough one to crack. Like, for me anyway, it was a little bit of a. There's so much talked about, written about. It's just a strange one to figure out. Yeah. And the more, it's like they live in their own world, and I love bands like that. I think that's why I like people who kind of create their own universe and seem to be kind of untouched by others. That's my attraction to the Dead.
Dude.
That's Metallica.
Yeah.
Like people who are like seem completely unaffected by anything else.
It's an attraction to the large portion of bands that come from this city, not to bring it all full circle. But that's a fucking thing up here. But I agree with Dan Baum. Just to wrap up, put a bow on the Steely Dan topic, I agree with him. They were punks to me.
Yeah.
These were guys that were nerds, hardcore jazz nerds that were singing about drugs and getting laid and living in New York and all of these kind of like putting themselves into characterizations of middle-aged men when they were well younger than that demographic. But when those guys were in their 20s, they sounded like dudes that were 50 years old singing about, the good old days. And I don't know, there's just a real punk element to Steely Dan that I find very hilarious.
Do you ever dig Zappa?
I'm much like probably a lot of people, tried early on and it was too sophisticated for my ears. And since then, I think I have a better grasp on it now, but haven't done a big deep dive.
There's to me, it was like a part of the understanding them was like, they're doing kind of the same thing, but it's a much more palatable thing. Mm-hmm. It's like they're making fun of you making fun of someone by making you feel sorry for them rather than just openly mocking them.
Yeah.
And then the music is really heady and cool, and it's just not, it's like Zappa has it like cranked to 11 and they're like at 8, and they're like, okay, nice. Or, this still sounds like, good, 70s rock music.
Yeah.
And I love 70s music. Just the fact that they just kind of fit so perfectly in that thing. Like they had some stuff in the very early 80s and then we're like, that's it. It seems to me like that there's something so cool about that.
Yeah.
Something that just exists in the 70s.
Yeah, exactly. That is weird, because I think Gaucho was released in 1980. And I mean, for all intents and purposes, that's their final album. I know they've done a couple subsequently, but that's pretty much where the Steely Dan catalog for me ends. And it's fun to go back and revisit that. I've been a knucklehead Steely Dan fan for a while, and it's never gotten me fired from a band.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I kind of thought you got lost in the wash here because I hit you up kind of early and I was doing this at my buddy's house and there was a performance element.
Yeah.
And I learned something about you that I had no fucking clue about. And I think now looking back, maybe it adds up a little bit, but I was like, hey, yeah, you come and do an interview and you perform a little bit. This is like when your solo record came out.
Yeah.
And you were like, no. I don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that.
And I was like, what? And you're like, I don't like performing. So like, is this true? Is this a recent revelation or are you done with it? Like, how long have you known you don't like performing? How about that?
I will say to that, I have always experienced varying degrees of anxiety when it comes to performing. I think most people do. Maybe not most. There are a lot of folks that will say that they experience anxiety in real life. Hello. And when they get on a stage, that's when all that stuff goes away.
That's me.
I'm blown away by that concept. I think that is incredible. Like I love that you can get on stage in front of dozens, hundreds of people and the anxiety goes away and you're comfortable. That to me is like, I can't understand what that must feel like.
Well, I think I'm a really social person, but when there's it's like when I'm in a crowd, mm-hmm. especially a crowd of a lot of people I know, I feel this expectation of like, I need to like touch everybody. And somehow the easiest way, and so I feel a little uncomfortable.
Yeah. And
then it's like somehow the answer, and this is insane, granted, was like, will you just go stand up here in front of everybody and do something, and kind of like touch everybody in that way, and somehow that I'm more comfortable with that.
Is it because maybe the stage provides a bit of a barrier between the two, and that's your world, and they can't get up there to touch you, and they can't they can't take up.
Maybe
you're in control.
Maybe I'm dictating a little bit.
Yeah, you're in control
Perhaps.
of how the interaction goes. Maybe. Yeah.
But I like talking to people. I'm doing this because I like interacting with people. Maybe I feel a little bit better one-on-one and having like not an expectation of I have to, like I don't like parties.
Right.
Like I like being in a public place with someone.
You don't like performative conversation, it sounds like.
Yeah. Well, and I think we might have that in common.
Yeah. Do you like out in the wild, if you run into me or you run into Dan Baum, you're not uncomfortable with that.
No way.
It's uncomfortable. The uncomfortability with maybe strangers.
Yeah.
Or too many voices.
Yeah.
In a conversation.
Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same way, man.
Right. But for whatever reason, like I think that's normal to be a little uncomfortable, but I don't think it's normal to then go, I think I will go up on this riser and perform for everybody.
Yeah, that's interesting. But there, even being a sideman and playing bass, singing background vocals, even there was an element of anxiety and stage fright. That's why I was always happy to kind of stand back by the hi-hat and make a lot of eye contact with the drummer and watch his kick foot and
we're just connecting
and connect that way. But yeah, fronting something, singing, like that was a really difficult thing for me to even attempt to do because like I did that country record, I think that came out in 2009.
Too Much Living
came out in 2009. And I tried to support that as best I could. I put 2 or 3 different variations of bands together and did some opened up for Slobberbone one time.
That Granada show was at the Release.
Yeah, it must have been.
That was awesome.
Yeah, and a really crack band. And it went really well. But I just realized that's not what I want to do. I don't want to front a live band and do that. That there was no real appeal to me. It was like I'm supposed to do this. I released an album, so I should go play live now because that's what the blueprint says. So I'm supposed to do that. And now, if I never, I don't want to say never. Where I am right now, if you told me right now that you're never going to play music in front of people again, I'd probably have about the same reaction to if somebody told me that alcohol is gone forever, you can never have another drinky. And I might be like, I like one every once in a while, but that ain't going to kill me. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Fine with that.
Yeah. Like, what's gone forever? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's, okay. Sure.
Yeah, that is funny. I think I can remember being nervous, but somehow or like stage fright, but like somehow that went away. I can remember, about Rock Lottery.
Yeah, of course.
So
I've been asked a million times and it's never worked out.
Dude. Well, I thought I was going to be physically ill before we played. And it's because my Rock Lottery band was a really ill-fitting group of parts. Yeah. And I just knew.
I thought that was the point.
I mean, yeah, but I just knew it wasn't going to go well. And I was like, I was like still pretty young. I think I was like 23 or something. And I was still in that young musicians, like I had a lot to prove mentality. And I felt bad about the possibility of like going on stage and kind of knowing it was going to be bad, Right. And so that's
you kind of convinced yourself of that prior.
Yeah.
Rather than just whatever happens.
And that's how I am now.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I love I love that aspect of performance. And I know that nothing's ever going to be perfect. But the thing is, I've taken out I have something to prove thing. Or like I'll be judged in a certain way. And I mainly am like, I like these people. I want to get on a stage with them. I want to do something. And if it sucks, fine. And if people don't like it, fine.
Yeah.
That, I'm open to that that is in the cards. And that's like part of the thrill for me is like, that is a possibility.
Well, I think also it could be that you trust your powers of discernment too, that for the most part, you're not going to involve yourself with something that has a high percentage of possibility that it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
you're going to surround yourself with players that you don't necessarily have to worry about too much anymore. Whereas when you're younger, there's a lot of wild cards out there, a lot of intangibles that you can kind of look around a room and look at yourself and be like, am I good enough to do this? Or is that guy is the bass player going to just shit the bed on this song? Or is this song any good? Now it's like, you're probably not going to present yourself to do anything without having at least a pretty solid amount of confidence that it's not just going to implode.
Sure.
Yeah.
I would think about, I'm 46 now, so that was half a lifetime ago.
Which is funny because I've always thought of you in the group of Denton colleagues as kind of like you're one of the babies out of all of them. And it's just funny to hear you say that you're 46 years old. To me, I think of you as 28-year-old Grady.
I mean,
and being the youngest one in whatever group that I'm hanging out with.
I'm still kind of the youngest guy in the bands I play with. I tend to, like, most of the people I play with are in their 50s and 60s and some in their 70s.
Sure.
And so I guess I'm still kind of that way. I haven't really connected with I don't know who the younger people are or what they're doing. But I feel like there's always been a thing of like, I wanted to learn from those people. I came up here to meet cool people to play music with. That is why I came to Denton. I grew up in Dallas and was like, it seemed like everything I got, if I got it, everything was CDs then, or in some cases cassettes. But it was like, I remember hearing Adam's Farm and seeing Matt Pence play the fucking drums and being like, holy shit, that Martian is from Denton. You know, like I'm going up there. Or Funland and, or Tripping Daisy. Be like, this is what's going on in Denton. Somehow everything that I found from Denton was like, I think like you're saying, like you said, from this other planet.
I wonder if a lot of those guys' experiences were similar to mine, because I wonder if everything funnels out of the school into the city as far as that goes. Because in my experience, like I came up here to do, mainly I came to Denton because I knew it was a good music school. I knew that there was a greater than zero chance, or a really good chance, that I could find some musicians to play with. And that was my entire goal. That, and obviously getting out of a small town and getting as close to a bigger city as I possibly could. Because when I graduated high school, I had a full ride to go to what at the time it was called West Texas State University in Canyon. I have no idea what it's called now, but it's a small school out near Amarillo. I had a full ride to play trumpet in marching band, and I turned it down. Yeah, I was like, I'm not going to do that. I want to get closer to Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I want to go to a real music school. So I went to Denton to quote unquote study music, and I realized in short order that if I stayed in school here, that my best case scenario would be graduating with an English major or a music composition theory type major, and I would be teaching. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to live. I wanted to live on the streets and play music and find rehearsal rooms and share a 2-bedroom apartment with six other guys and starve. And I wanted to live that life and get out and play.
Yeah.
And I realized pretty quickly after the first semester that I just needed to stay in this area.
Yeah.
That was the key. And I wonder if a lot of people were like that went up there, realized that they were way overmatched, because you are, especially at that school. And I'll never forget, I was standing at Bruce Hall.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, standing at Bruce Hall, and they used to have performances down in the big common student area. Yeah. And I remember seeing 1 o'clock down there. And for all I know, Earl might have been in that band. Shelley Carroll might have been in that band, because those guys are older than me, but not by much. They could have been seniors playing in those bands. And I could have been watching that at the time. I had no fucking jazz background at all. Yeah. No foundation for jazz in my entire musical repertoire. And I remember standing there with a buddy of mine, and we're both just like looking at each other, kind of shaking our heads. And my buddy leans over to this guy that's kind of grooving to it. And he goes, are these guys good?
Yeah.
And the guy looks at him and he goes, they're smoking, man. They are smoking.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, I don't get it.
No.
This is not for me. And I wonder if a lot of people's experiences were similar to mine, that they went to that school, realized what the fuck, and ended up dropping out and just stayed and formed bands.
That's me.
That was me.
Yeah.
I ended up in Dallas because I had connections in Dallas, but there's a really good chance I could have just stayed here.
Yeah.
I just didn't know anybody here.
Yeah.
All the people that I was connected to were from Richardson. So that's where I ended up.
I didn't know you. So I that's the first I've ever heard you mention trumpet.
Yeah.
I don't think I knew you played trumpet.
I still have my cornet at home.
In marching band? Did you march it?
I did, yeah, but I really was way more into concert.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you play because you played football, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But dude, I was
Could you do both?
The small school where my sophomore and junior years, I was varsity and I had to come out and play marching band in pads.
Awesome.
Yeah. Until the coach said, we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
And they had a big, thing with the band director and power struggle. And of course, football is always going to win over music.
Yeah.
It's king.
In Texas, for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny because I have a very similar experience, but like I came, I just thought I was like the only, I was like, I knew everybody in my high school who played music, and my band was already gigging, and so I just thought I was hot shit for some reason, and I came here and quickly realized like, oh my god,
it's eye opening.
Yeah, and just in a really great way, and I wish I had like buckled down and challenged myself to try and crack it, but I don't know to what end. I quit after one semester and dropped out and moved in with my older brother who lived in Garland at the time, Garland Richardson, kind of right on the border, until he kicked me out. And then I couch surfed until a couple of the guys that I'd met in college, they moved back to San Antonio. I scoped out and kind of scouted the landscape, and then they moved up here after several months. And we started living together and trying to, reach out and form bands and develop relationships and go see acts and connect and all that stuff and network at the time. So that's what we did. But yeah, my world was in Richardson, Texas, and Richardson Square Mall and that whole area for several years. So yeah. Did you play trumpet first or did you play guitar first?
Trumpet, guitar first, but you learn the cowboy chords when you're 6, 7 years old. And I was fortunate because both my parents, my mom that raised me, I'm adopted, so my adoptive parents who raised me were both pretty deep in the music world. My mom was a country singer and toured her entire adult life until I came along and she was 41, 42 when I was adopted. So she was pretty much out. She was out of the game by then. Yeah. But up until that point, until she met my dad and they got married, he met her years before.
And he played guitar?
Yeah, he played, he was from, they were both actually from the same area in North Central Texas, Wichita Falls, Burke Burnett area, Thalia, if you know any of those towns in your country music travels.
Wichita Falls for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But they were both from that area. They met in Rhode Island where my dad was stationed in the Navy. I guess somehow my mom was up there and they met and got married. She was too old to have kids or had already had her, a procedure where she was unable to have kids, and they decided they wanted to adopt. So hence me.
Did they adopt you up there?
In Boston. Yeah. I was out of Boston, born in Boston, but adopted out of Providence, Rhode Island. And, but my dad played, he was Roy Orbison's first, high school guitar player.
Oh, fucking A.
Yeah. High school bands, Obviously Roy was destined for greater things.
Was that in Wink?
Father. I don't think it was Wink.
Or Vernon?
Up near Vernon, up in that area. But it was a small school, and my dad and him had a little ensemble together.
That's so cool.
And my mom toured the hayride circuit all through her 20s. She shared stages with Patsy and Hank and Elvis and all those.
Willie, right?
Yeah, Willie in the Basement Bar over in Fort Worth. She played with him, and he would ask her to get up on stage and do, an hour so he could go out back and
you're interfacing with Willie with like, was it his wife kind of greeting you or something?
Was somebody I ran into Willie at it was the Virgin was it the Virgin Airlines when they came to Dallas? It was their big launch party.
Yeah.
And Branson hired Willie to be the entertainment. And I got into the receiving line to shake his hand. And I walked up and he had his back to me and he turned around and I said, "Hey, it's nice to meet you. There's a chance that you might know my mom." And I gave him the thing, and everything. He had a funny comeback.
I thought it was something like, "You think I'm your dad?" or something like goes, that. Or like,
well, the guy is like 5'4", 5'5", and he looked up at me and his head went snapped up and he goes, "I don't think I'm your dad, dude," or something like that. But we laughed and he said, "Yeah, I remember playing that bar, but that was a long time ago. I get it. Willie's run into a lot of folks."
Yeah.
So that was my mom's world. So back to your question, guitar first, yes. And because my dad was a pretty good country and jazz guitar player, I was the guy that would play the cowboy chords so he could solo over them and take a little runs on. So, but I put it down for a long time and didn't really get serious about it again until 13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I have a guitar and a bass in Willie's room, and because he's in percussion now, and he has this marimba that he plays around on, and he's showing his sister stuff, and he has a little snare pad and everything.
That's
but
great.
Like, I just have a guitar and amp in there, and I'm just like, anytime you want
to jam,
anytime you want to, fool around with that thing, it's there, and I'll show you everything I know. It won't take long. But it's there.
Yeah.
And because that's like
same.
That's when it's like when you have that time and that energy when you're 11, 12, 13, that's like when it's the right time to
Sure. Yeah, my similar situation. I've got my little studio at home and I've got several guitars and basses that are out in the wild, and like, "Malcolm, anytime you want, I'll sit down with you and we can start playing the bass or whatever." And he's no interest. And if I go in there and I'm working on something, it's not long before he's interrupting me and to go have a lightsaber battle. That's what his life is right now. It's not learning to play Dad's boring guitars. I'm Qui-Gon and you're Darth Maul and we're going to fucking fight. I was like, let's go.
Yeah, man. So, you got to die. Sadly.
I do. I get cut in half and go down an exhaust port.
Yeah.
But I come back. Many years later, somehow they reassemble me and I come back.
It's a beautiful thing. Man, and like, how fun is it to like shape a kid's musical mind, talking about like yours being shaped kind of like by your father or whatever. But like, I think I remember you talking on the radio about Malcolm he loves Marvin Gaye or something like that. I'm like, where did he get into Marvin Gaye? And like, well, it's
I can't remember
when your dad is a James Jamerson worshiper. I guess you probably you hear some Marvin Gaye around the house a little bit.
Actually, the funny thing is, for me, Marvin Gaye wasn't even a thing until much later. But yeah, for Malcolm, my son, it's what I'll play stuff for him, and if he shows. I don't try to ram things down his throat. I play, go, "What do you think of this? You like this?" Or, "Yeah, who's this?" "Oh, that's Nada Surf." He goes, "I like Nada Surf." It's like, then we're going to listen to a lot of Nada Surf today. Yeah. But lately, it's a lot of what he's listening to is the Star Wars soundtrack. So my life is John Williams right now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, if I'm in the car with him, he wants to hear a Duel of the Fates, which is the Darth Maul theme song battle. So that's my life right now.
I like the Superman theme,
contemporary classical music,
a lot in the John Williams canon. I feel like it kind of gets
overlooked. Yeah, maybe
it's not as like, it doesn't feel as iconic as Indiana Jones or Star Wars or but.
My kid's definitely from the dark side, so it's a lot of Imperial March. It is Duel of the Fates. It is the song that plays when they're in the trash compactor. The walls converge. Like, I know all the names of these.
That's badass.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's great.
He's definitely from the dark side.
I love I love that too. You hunting down the things that they respond to.
Yeah.
And going and being like, well, we like this and that, and because I I've forgotten a lot of it, but I remember going down that for sure of all the of just like, oh, there's like superhero theme songs, and I would throw in like Iron Man, or I'd find, you know, or the Trooper or something, you know, I'd find like and be like
the Trooper,
just find other tunes, you know, like tunes, and be like, this is cool, right? This is
it's funny. His playlist, I'll do the same. Like I'll play some stuff for him, and if he says that if I get the thumbs up, I'll throw it on his Malcolm playlist, which is really extensive. I mean, it's everything from Slayer to Billie Eilish to the Beatles to Tom Petty. I mean, it's you name it. It's a big mix. Like my Spotify. Embarrassed to say that, yes, I still use Spotify, but it is so jacked that, you know, my year in review.
Oh my God.
It's so embarrassing.
Oh yeah. I have a couple friends that I'll show it to, and they're like, what happened here?
Yeah.
So you listened to Grateful Dead and Coco Melon, huh? And I'm like, yeah, that's it.
Although last year, when he was from 3 to 4, his favorite artist, and it was kind of cool, my most listened to artist when he was 3 to 4 was Elvis.
Fuck yeah.
Huge Elvis freak.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could go on and on talking about my kid, but I've learned that it's much like dreams, you know? People really don't want to hear about it. The only people that are interested in it are the parties involved.
Yeah. One more on my kid, and but like during the pandemic, I got into like big listening projects. I still listen this way. I like to.
I heard that on your podcast, and I love that you've done that. That's so cool.
I listen to every electric Bob Dylan and the Hawks electric show when they were getting booed.
Yeah.
Including a great show at SMU where they did not get booed. He claims, I guess they played Austin and Dallas, and he commends the Texas crowds for how into it they were. Bob does.
That's crazy.
Like, but Willie started going, I like that Mr. Tambourine Man, because it was in almost every acoustic set.
Yeah.
At that time. And so we got into that, and the Dylan movie came out, Chalamet.
Yeah.
And we went and watched that, and he was way into that.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of found a little way into Dylan, which I think is cool.
Well, that was a later in life thing for me, man.
I know, same.
Yeah.
I mean, I was up here. I was in college, and but we did a thing. I did a show recently with Ryan at like a festival. Ryan wanted to do like play his acoustic guitar, and it was like a real moody kind of sleeper set on a festival. I think he just wanted to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
I came home, and Willie was like, how was your show? And I was like, it was cool. You know, Ryan described it kind of like that. And he goes, what a Bob Dylan move. I was like, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I know. I was like, yeah, that fucking A. That's like,
I love you.
Yeah, I know. I was like,
that's my boy.
Yeah, fucking A.
That's great, dude. What a Bob Dylan move. That's so cool.
Yeah, he got it immediately.
I love that. I love hearing stuff like that.
So it was guitar, metal. Like, what was going on when you were
small town? You know, I kind of tried to mentally prepare myself for this line of discussion because I thought you might want to get a little bit of backstory.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, growing up in a town, which at the time, population maybe 11 to 1,200 people, graduating class of 33, 34. You know, you basically, the stuff that you had access to was, we were poor, so we didn't have MTV, but I could see MTV at other people's houses. They would pay the extra $1 a month to get MTV. My mom would have none of that. No HBO, I mean, it was like cable, just the bare essentials cable's what we had. But I could see that stuff on other people's TVs. And if we ever went to my aunt's house in San Angelo, I would not leave her home. Because she had MTV, and I would, from morning until night, if I was left alone, I would turn it on and not turn it off. So everything that was appealing to me at the time was AC/DC. It was Def Leppard. It was melodic hard rock that had energy. I've appreciated good songwriting, but I kind of closeted that stuff. Like I could appreciate a really well-crafted Bryan Adams song, something that had radio value or that appealed to the masses for a reason because it had a hook. I could appreciate that. I could appreciate Duran Duran. I could appreciate some of the other things that were going on. But as far as admitting to it and trying to go in a direction, that was those things were kind of put back here. I was, the appeal was more to the aggressive, angrier side.
That's young man's music.
Yeah. But I had a lot of friends that went more into the, I don't want to, not techno, but the new wave.
Yeah.
More of a new wave direction. And that just wasn't for me. Because when I was in school, you had a very small handful of kids that were into new wave, Culture Club, things of that nature, Wham, that kind of stuff. Then you had the kids like me. That was another small pocket, which are the metal kids. And then by and large, it was country music / whatever else is on the radio at the time that were big hits that weren't necessarily genre bending, like Chicago, Billy Squire, things, ZZ Top, but Garth Brooks, Alan Jackson, that kind of type of stuff. The radio kids, that half of it was country and the other half was whatever was top 40.
Yeah.
So I was definitely in the minority, but I had a handful of friends that were into that shit, and we shared Hit Parader magazines, and we could get Circus magazines if we went to Abilene, and there was a grocery store that you could order records. You could go to this grocery store, and if you knew the title, they would look it up on their big catalog, and if they had it, they would order it for you. You'd pay in advance,
fucking
$7.99, and you get a brand new album. Boston or AC/DC's For Those About to Rock or whatever.
Yeah.
And then of course there was the Columbia House, music club that every teenager ripped off.
Yeah.
I don't know how they made any money on that thing, trying to enforce those contracts that they had signed with minors, which were never binding. But yeah, I ripped them off 2 or 3 times. So that's kind of how you built your album collection back then.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I leaned. And mainly there was an appeal to it. I was an angry kid. I wanted to play guitar. I wanted to play distorted. I wanted to play loud. And it was also kind of rebellious to the Marty Robbins, Merle Haggard, Elvis, Waylon Jennings, music in that Patsy Cline, music in the house upbringing that I had that was my quote unquote parents' music.
Yeah.
So it was a departure from that, and it was a way for me to kind of find my unique. I was trying to find my uniqueness by copying something else that wasn't copying what my parents were into.
Yeah. That's what you do.
Yeah.
There's something to like learning how to play that kind of stuff early on, I think, because you're learning. It's so much cooler when someone shows you a riff than to go like, from the thing from your dad of like, just play these chords while I practice my licks over it. And even if you had another buddy who played guitar, if you have to be the one who's like, okay, you play the chords and I'm going to do the cool shit on top. It's way cooler to find metal and go like, you play that part, which is badass, and I'm gonna play this other part, which is
bitchin'.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're badass. I'm bitching. And like if you can find a drummer who can keep up with that stuff, like that's really fun stuff to play and good for you.
And there's a simplicity to a lot of it because at the time I didn't have to really worry about dad's chords. I don't know if I necessarily regret it, but I wish that I had been more open-minded because I'm learning all this stuff in the last 10 years about voicings and chord extensions and theory and jazz theory and apply and tritone substitutions and all of these things that I would have been like, fuck you, man, that's boring. Because back then, all you needed to play music was basically 2 notes. You needed a root and a 5. That was your power chord, and you just move those things all up and down the top 4 strings of your neck, and you could be in a band. And that's kind of what we were doing. Now, granted, some of that music could get a little more sophisticated as you kind of opened it up, as you kind of opened up the flap and looked under the hood, you realize, oh, wow, what these guys are doing, this is very layered. And yeah, there is a root thing here, but wow, what Steve Clark from Def Leppard is doing here is very melodic and very interesting. And even though it's a layered part, it's still very cool. So that element is something that I kind of put in the back of my mind is like, I love production. I fucking love it. I think that that's where I am now. It's like, that's all I want to do is arrange, compose, and produce music. So all of those things were in the back of my head, and it just took time and getting older to feel like I'm ready to start maybe solving some of these Rubik's Cubes and unlocking some of these doors that I kind of had relatively closed my whole life. But it was metal from about 86 until about 92. And that's, I pretty much quit playing for several years in the early 90s. And a lot of it is the cliche that most people that were doing that kind of music, they heard Nirvana for the first time and knew that it was over. You see all those compilation videos. Was that you? I loved it. I thought, I didn't think anything was over. I was like, this is great. This is where it's evolving. Yeah. Where so many people were either so crestfallen by the notion that they had to stop doing what they were doing because now Nirvana, Soundgarden, and Pearl Jam are becoming popular, that this has to end, where the reality of it is you can enjoy it all, Yeah. And I saw a lot of bands back in the day try to fake it and copy what those guys were doing. And it just it rang false. I think to a certain degree I did, because we were still doing the kind of like progressive melodic metal thing, like King's X, like Queensryche. That was kind of like because we were good. Like we were really good players. The guys that I was playing with, we could execute parts and do some pretty advanced shit for a metal band. Not quite like Dream Theater level, but back that a couple of notches down, and we were able to kind of execute that type of intricate playing. But it got to a point where the other guys were still wearing tight jeans and rayon shirts and had long hair with bangs, where I kind of like started showing up for gigs wearing army shorts, combat boots, and flannel shirts, and growing my bangs out and having the man bob, shoulder length man bob, looking like I'm in Teenage Fan Club meets, Soundgarden or whatever. And they'd look at me and go, "You're wearing that on stage tonight?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." Yeah. And I knew that was the end. I was, we were all just playing fucking heavy metal grunge cosplay anyway. Yeah. You're in your early 20s. You're trying to find out. You're trying to find yourself. You're trying to find what works for you. And a lot of that is through imitation. Yeah, I think about that. You're finding that, and like I did the same thing here. It was like you just find something that's big, and you kind of try to become the mini version of that. Yeah. And you find people you're still like a little kid going, "You're about my size, about my age. Do you like this also? Do you like to play with these toys? Cool, me too. Let's do it." Yeah. And you just kind of, and now I think as you grow, you start to go, well, what would be more exciting if I found somebody who didn't exactly align with all of my influences and maybe wanted to, push into some new territory, Yeah, for sure. Like that, where there's like creates a little bit more of a dialogue than, us just kind of saying the same thing. Yeah. We find ourselves a lot of times as we're trying to maneuver our way through our musical minds and our musical futures. We find ourselves becoming ordinary versions of extraordinary acts. There are, and I think I did that for a long time. I think that in a lot of ways, what we were doing in the metal world was we were a very ordinary version of, like, I think King's X is an extraordinary band. We were a very ordinary version of that, or an ordinary version of Queensryche or whatever. And once that kind of fizzled and plus I got married and had a son at the time, so I kind of like did a total reboot on my life. And then after a number of years, I decided I wanted to entertain the idea of playing music again. And the thing that inspired me was not only what was coming out of Denton, but it was that first Jayhawks record. Everybody says it was Uncle Tupelo. Not for me. It was that first, and I mean not Hollywood Town Hall, the one before it. Well, I can't remember what it was called now, but somebody hit me to that. And then I heard the Crow Pot Pie demo that Robert Wolanski somehow got out there, and I ended up getting a copy of Crow Pot Pie's Slobberbones demo, and I'm hearing that. And through that, I discovered Uncle Tupelo. And then Uncle Tupelo became Wilco and Sunvolt, and I'm hearing all this music that it's like, holy shit, they're playing loud. They're having fun. They're playing rock and roll. But this also is somehow combining the music of my life from 0 years old to 10 years old.
Yeah.
And we're always going to have that. And we're always going to have a weird, we will turn our backs on it, and then we'll embrace it. And sometimes we'll turn our backs on it and embrace it. But I was at that point in my life where it's like, I really was embracing that. I was hearing, rock and roll played with steel guitar. Nothing new there. But then discovering the bands that had done it in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Then I'm getting hip to Graham Parsons, and I'm getting hip to the Burrito Brothers and Poco and the Byrds and all this stuff that was kind of doing it before. This second wave of it, we're doing it in the early 90s.
Yeah.
And it just opened up a whole different world to me. And that's when I said, I want to play music again. And I went out and I bought a Fender Precision, I bought a 75 Fender Precision, and I started scouting people and bands and places to play. Because I had the time to do it then. Kid was a little bit older. His mom and I had split up. So we were doing the co-parenting thing. So I didn't have to be a full-time dad. I was able to split my time and be dad half the time and go out and play in bands the other half of the time.
Yeah.
And that's when I discovered Trey Johnson at the Barley House doing a solo set. And I was like, this is the best thing. This is Dallas's answer to Jeff Tweedy.
Yeah.
And I really felt that. And then I learned there was so much more to him. And that's when I started playing again. I introduced myself and I said, I play bass and I would love to play with you. Do you have a band? He said, no. He had just ended a band and was doing this solo stuff. Let's form a band. And we did. And that's kind of got me back into music. And kind of been doing it since. And this was in 1998, 99.
When did you meet Carter?
Around that same time.
Carter Albrecht.
Yeah. Around that same time, because Carter was in that same nucleus of Barley House musicians, old Barley House on Henderson. And that became my community.
I'm in wrapping up high school at that time.
Yeah.
And going to see Chris Holt's band at the Home Bar.
Walter Mitty.
Yeah. And at then the coolest person I feel like I've ever seen live in person appears on the stage, and it's Carter.
Yeah.
Smoking a cigarette, singing Sweet Jane with Walter Mitty.
Smoking a cigarette while he's singing.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And like I knew he was singing the verses out of order, but I was like, it's like he had just crashed into the hippie party and was like, this is how it's done. This is what cool is.
Yeah.
And my mind was just blown. I just was like, man, what a character. And like, I got to be kind of like, friendly with him.
Yeah.
And like, what an awesome dude. What a just incredible, like that, now it's called, like it gets called aura or whatever, but like he just had something that was instantly definable when you saw it.
Yeah. And a lot of people, I've seen people walk into a room that have that commanding energy, that have that aura you talk about. The difference in that separated Carter from those people is there was so much substance to support it. It was like you were seeing Dallas's white Miles Davis. And just to be in a room with him early on, it was, there was an energy, there was something that incited emotion being near him when I didn't know him that well. The thing that separated him was when he sat down at a piano or grabbed a guitar or opened his mouth to sing, it was like, Jesus, okay, wow. There's a reason that, because a lot of guys can peacock and look like that. But once you sit down with them, you just realize that there's a lot of, I don't even know if this is a word, vapidity. They can be quite vapid. There's not a lot of substance there, but with Carter, there was a ton of substance, and I was incredibly attracted to that. Very, very much drawn to that. But the respect came seeing him perform and hearing him write songs and watching him go through what it took to get those songs out firsthand. And it wasn't long, a few years into us kind of playing together, because he would, like I said, we were all a community at the old Barley House, and he would, he had such a good relationship with the place that he would leave his roads up there, because it'd be late at night. It's like, I'm too hammered to fucking pack this thing up into my car. I'll come get it tomorrow. And sometimes they would just remain up there all weekend. And one night, Trey and I were playing. We were doing a little duo set, and Carter was in the room, and he just hopped up. His Rhodes was there, turned it on, and just sat in. And it's like, this sounds really cool together. I love the sound of that instrument with us. And that's how that all started. And he and I became, I would say, best friends can be a very common phrase that's thrown around. And I will even go a bit further. And I'm only speaking for myself. I think I know how he felt about me. We were very honest with each other. It was, we had a very open relationship. It was like the first time in my life that I'd experienced two grown men talking about their feelings to the level that we shared. We became roommates, and we were in two different bands together at the same time. And I can genuinely say this in a very confident, no homo way, but I fell in love with him. Like, I was in love with him as a person. Clearly nothing sexual about it, but there was those people that you're in love with your children, right? Yeah. You can say that. Yeah. You're in love. I'm in love with my brother or a family member. And that's the way I connected with him. It was more than just a respect and a love. It's like, I was enamored with him. And he was kind of like my musical compass, and in addition to so many other things, being a best friend, being a confidant, being someone that I could be myself and feel seen for the most part. Yeah. And he was brutally honest with me too, and I respected that. So yeah, we really, really clicked, and there was something special about, not just playing with the man but seeing what his process was, and seeing how freaking hard and what it took to crank out a great song. And I thought Carter wrote many great songs, and to see it firsthand by living with him, the effort and repetition that he put in, that was instilled in him from the earliest age of taking classical piano. His mom was his original teacher, and she was very strict with him as far as practice. He carried that on into his rock and roll days too. Yeah. Big time. Like, he just didn't wake up and was Carter. The motherfucker worked at it. Like, to the point where I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Yeah. And I think that's why he was so, so full of life and energy when he got away from it. Like, if you'd see him out and he would drink too much or get too loud or whatever, I think that was all of that work. It's like Girls Gone Wild, that I've been tethered to this desk for 8 hours a day for, the last 52 weeks. And God damn it, I'm in Cancun. Yeah. Let's go. Yeah. And he lived it, all of it. He did everything full throttle. Yeah. Yeah.
It's, dude, I know what it's like when you're around somebody who does have that discipline. Yeah. And you see what it's like, oh man, not only did I probably not have the talent gets thrown around a lot. I'm not certain how much I believe in it, really as a tangible thing. Mm-hmm. Because
what talent?
Yeah, because I really think it's about drive.
Truly.
And like, so people will say, and I will be dismissive when people are like, blah, 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 you're talented. I'm like, I just love music. And I only like doing anything that's going to involve music. I'm a record nerd. Yeah. I just love listening to records, and I want to play. There was a part of me that wanted to recreate the feeling that I got from listening to it. Was like, well, maybe if I can play. It was like a little bit of like, can I figure out this magic kind of thing? There's something that it just did to me emotionally that I wanted to like deconstruct and be a part of. But when you see someone, but I don't have the discipline. At my best, my absolute best, I was probably practicing like 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was when I was working really hard, and I can see it. There's video and there's audio of, my early 20s, and I can see it. I'm like, man, maybe that stuff's still in there. Maybe I could still play that today, but I don't know. And I've done a lot of deconstructing since then. Mm-hmm. I think I've just given up on playing in that in a certain way or something like that. And I think I just like a more streamlined, minimalist approach. And
that's what lazy people say.
They do, and I'm them.
I know that. I know that life, dude. I know that life.
It's great to be a rhythm section player because people will applaud it, and you're like, "Oh yeah, you like that?" It's all them notes I'm not hitting.
Yeah, exactly. That's the testament to a real seasoned player. It's what he's not playing.
Yeah. Well, dude, there's a thing about, I think when, and like I can say this about you because I watched you. I really came into, I saw you with Sorta. I don't know that I ever saw Sparrows. I don't think
Wow.
Maybe once. Maybe once at Muddy Waters.
Probably back when Brian Wakeland and Mike Dane might have even been in the band. That was probably before my time because he ended up changing. Those guys left. And then he brought in Dave Monzi on bass and added me on guitar, and then Brant Cole on drums. And then, of course, Ward was always a Sparrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably when you saw, was the early days. Those were magical nights. I mean, I felt like I was seeing Jeff Buckley every time that he took a mic back then. It was incredible. And, of course, he would do a version of Hallelujah that had everybody, in tears every night, every time you saw it.
So like the... oh man, I feel like I've seen a bit of you, playing country and then moving into the soul thing, and like we played together.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I've seen a bit of your progression. And
I'm like you. I love music, and if it's good, there's a greater than zero chance that I want to try to figure it out and try to play it. And I used to, obviously in high school, I'm a rocker. Anything else, keyboards in the band, fuck you, man. You know what I mean? That kind of narrow-minded kid way of living your life.
Yeah, I mean, I'm laughing because it's hitting so hard.
Yeah, but you grow out of that for sure. And I just got to a place that's like, if it's good and I'm capable of keeping up, why not? Why not try it?
There's something to like, maybe it's. I don't know. You have a cool like approach because I think after a certain point, when you understand how a rhythm section functions, you can play busy and still without interrupting the groove. And that is like a thing that I think a lot of people who don't really understand how to do that do really badly. And that's a thing where it's like, that is a thing that's one of those things that's hard to identify because when someone is doing it well, it just kind of goes by.
You don't notice it.
Yeah. And then when someone's doing it badly, you're like, what the fuck is the bass player doing over there? And you have that. And I think that's, so I'm like, I guess I'm trying to move the conversation into your current thing, which I think you're doing really well at, which is like, creating this, sort of modern, not a throwback thing, which I really dig because in the country thing and in the Bastards of Soul, to me those genres are, I love them so much, but there is very much a this throwbacky thing, and like now we're in a loop.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And
in an echo chamber, man.
And like,
real. Yeah.
So like, you know, Bastards of Soul, as cool as it was, how do you evolve it?
Well, it's funny. So going back to the way I love your description of that type of bass player that can play more notes than you would expect, but it's still that you never lose sight of the groove, and you may not even realize how many notes are being played. Mm-hmm. And you described Jamerson, and that's exactly what he did. And it's funny, it just brought back a memory to me. We're talking about the work ethic of Carter and the discipline that he possessed to practice and dedicate himself to figuring things out and writing songs and whatnot. But I remember when, I don't know why, but I was listening to What's Going On, the record, and it hit me differently than it ever had. And it was because I was really listening to what the bass player was doing. And this was probably in early 2007. And I realized, holy shit, okay, I need to figure this out. So I spent a week trying to learn that, just learn the notes and the phrasing note for note in that song. And I was doing that every day for a week. Like I'd get home from work, and I was working at the Ticket at the time. I'd get home from work at like 7:00 at night, and I would be up for hours, and Carter would come home from a gig or whatever he was doing during the day. And I'm in there with my headphones and my jam box, and I'm sitting there with the practice amp. And by like Thursday or Friday, he'd look at me, he's like, still working on that, huh? And I don't know if it was, I would have had that figured out in 10 minutes on day one, still working on that, or good job, dude, I'm proud of you. Probably a combination of both, knowing him. But I did, and I figured that thing out note for note. Now, when I played it, did it sound like James? Fuck no. That takes years.
Yeah.
Years and years of understanding, and naturally by osmosis, having the concept of playing with feel become natural. And I still have to think about it sometimes. I catch myself and will go, dude, you're way ahead of the beat. You're too on top of the beat. You're too behind the beat. I have to be mindful of that. And if you get too excited, it's not going to lock in or give you the desired effect that you want. Hey, how about playing less notes? So it's been an evolution, for a personal evolution in trying to figure out what's my role as a bass player, composer. How does this all work? And I think I'm getting closer to, wouldn't even say having a style, not like, oh, when you hear a guy, you know it's him. No, I don't know if I'll ever have that. But I think I've come up with something in a way of playing that I can fit in most situations and not get ahead of my skis too much to where I'm lost. And learning all that stuff to the best of my ability, learning all that Jamerson stuff helped. And it helped inform Bastards of Soul. But Bastards of Soul was a cover band. You know, we started out just wanting to play covers. Right. So what did we do? Well, then let's write some originals. Well, the originals are, we go back to the discussion of being ordinary facsimiles of extraordinary things. Well, we were learning extraordinary songs by extraordinary musicians, and we were kind of doing our own ordinary versions of them. I will say that by the last record, the posthumous record after Chadwick passed away that came out, I feel like the song that I wrote that I just had, the semi-instrumental, but we had Shala Dawes do the chorus hook on it, a song called Try a Little Love, that Skin and I produced that song with Bastards of Soul. And we took the reins and said, we want to have control of this song and do this, produce this the way we want. We need you guys to play the way we want you to play. Mm-hmm. And they got on board. Like, Chris, I want to hear this kind of solo. I want to hear jazz octaves. I want to slow, and then I want a big run at the end. And Matt, I want you playing this kind of way. Lock in with me on this bass groove. And we produced that song, and it was like, okay.
That's like the blueprint.
That was the blueprint for Silver Skylarks.
Yeah.
And that's, and that continues to evolve. Like right now, like we did that number one Set and Sound record, which I love. And it's the one record outside of, I would say there's some sort of songs that I can go back and be really fucking proud of and love and think they're just really, really well done. The Sparrows albums and the Carter Albrecht album as standalones are, to me, perfect. They're great.
Yeah.
I'm super, super proud of those. But the Silver Skylark stuff, it's like the thing that I can look back and go, you know what? We did that the right way.
Mm-hmm.
That's unique. That's unique for me. That I'm not going to say it's extraordinary, but it ain't fucking ordinary.
Yeah. That
stands out to me above anything that I've done in a very long time, maybe ever. And we've continued to kind of produce music along, I compose these parts, I compose these songs, and then Jeff comes in and we get together and chop them up and figure out what groove works best here, or what instruments would we like to hear, and do we want a guitar solo or a synth solo? Well, what kind of synth? I'm feeling this. I don't know. I think the ARP would be a good idea here. No way, Mini Moog, bro. That kind of stuff, going back and forth and coming up with these sonic choices. And then who's going to play it? Are we going to get Quentin? Or are we going to get Jordash? I don't know, man. Quentin might take this for a ride, but yeah, Jordash is going to play it this way. What drummer are we going to use? Oh my God, Sput?
Yeah.
Or are we going to get Jorts? Jorts is right down the street and he can play anything. You know what I mean? So all of these decisions, I love that process. So it's like a renewed excitement, a renewed energy. And then working with other artists, working with Ronnie Laws and working with Mark Letary and,
oh my God, I love Mark.
Working with Leon Bridges, and not that he's done anything with Skylarks, but I've done stuff on a song of his, and just working with all these amazing people has been just incredible. And now it's like I've been working lately over the last, I'd say, better part of a year, getting my head slightly around hip hop production.
Yeah.
And working with loops and producing things that sound like old 90s hip hop records. I am scratching the surface.
Yeah.
But what an art form that I dismissed my whole fucking life.
Right.
Oh, you guys are just playing drum machines? Bullshit. That is so hard. It's harder. It is harder to produce a good hip hop record than I think any other form of music.
I've got like 4 drum machines that like I know the most basic level of how to use them.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, this is hard.
Yeah.
It really, and like I love them. And I love the sound of them. I think most drummers think that's the enemy or something, but I love them. And I want so badly to be able to integrate them. I want a gig where I play the drum machine.
Yeah.
Like I want to.
You mean like live drums with the drum machine?
Any combination where I feel like I could do something live with the drum machine that would be passable.
Sure.
But integrating would be the coolest.
Like kind of like how Radiohead uses them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Being able to, but there is this whole thing of like, boy, that thing don't move, and it will not follow you. It will not jam with you. Yeah. You're playing to it. And that's a whole thing that's really hard to move.
Yeah, boy, I've learned that too. Because a lot of the demos, I work out home demos for basically everything. And you present them to the players. And, there's times where it's like, you know what? I love my bass tone and part on the demo. Let's just get the drummer to play to that. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
You have to recut the bass to a live drummer. There's just no way around it.
Yeah.
I learned that really quickly, that it does not translate at all.
To me, I think it's so cool and so refreshing, just that, because I feel like it's pushing into new territory, and that's something that like modern, I just don't hear enough of in modern music. I feel like everybody wants to do this, and I think it's the same thing in kind of all in movies and TV too. Is like, what if we explored these characters? Or like I don't want your prequel. I don't care. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Write something new.
Yeah.
Like, and I love what you guys are doing of creating like that. Are we back to Steely Dan?
Maybe.
You just go, like, who would sound cool playing this?
Yeah.
This is the idea I have. And then you pull in people like characters, like personalities, and go, well, this person is going to really add something to it.
Yeah.
But and then knowing what you have, what was already in your quiver as far as, your stuff on the ticket just was like not only fucking hilarious, but like sounded cool and sounded good, and we heard an evolution of you, of what you were up to musically. And I know you at some point were trying to entertain like some licensing and some commercial music out as like a freelance thing of like, I can do this. Well, now you feel like you found a really cool creative outlet for it.
In a way, yeah, I think so.
And like, to me, it seems like you kind of compressed all these things that you kind of had, that were maybe you thought of were like, fishing in different ponds, and now you kind of, pushed them all into one or something. Or that's how it is from my perspective.
Yeah, well, I would be remiss if I didn't harp on this a little bit, but having one like-minded enough soundboard in Skin to bounce this stuff off of and get validation on stuff that he thinks is good and get honest feedback on stuff that he doesn't think is going to work, rather than dealing with 4 other guys that all have to be unanimously on board with it, is so much more edifying. You get to kind of share a vision. You get to follow through on your idea a little further than you would if you're in a room and 2 of the guys go, that sucks. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, well, shit, shut that down. You get to, I feel like we get to develop more things together and see things a little further until you then realize, oh, you're right, that does probably suck, and let's pull the plug on it now. But having him, and he's a legit producer. Like, he is a bona fide, legitimate music producer. And it might be his best skill outside of, if you even compare it to his level of a broadcaster he is, and then what he does with the Mavs, I would say that he's a better music producer than he is anything else that he does in life, business, whatever. He's really incredible and has great ideas, great suggestions. I cannot think of many instances where he's made a suggestion and my immediate instinct was to buck against it. I can't think of many times that's happened. It's most of the time I'm like, that sounds weird, but I love it. Let's try that. Let's turn this thing on its head. Otherwise, all I'm doing is coming up with grooves. I'm coming up with chords. I'm coming up with arrangements and melodies, and ideas that I have of what instruments should be used. But we make those final decisions together, and a lot of them are inspired by his ideas. And it's been just a real joy. Like the thing we did with so you're aware that Cure for Paranoia just won the big Tiny Desk thing, which is huge for them. We did a single last year with Cam and Quentin from Cure. And this vocal group, Us, from Austin, which is Uncle Roy and Spice, we did this thing, which was, I had just cranked out a home demo of this really lo-fi thing. I just got done watching the Sly documentary, and I'm obsessed with the cocaine era of Basement Sly when he isolated himself and used drum machines and Rhodes. To me, that's like Family Affair. Like that stuff, it's like, what? This is so lo-fi and so good.
And Riot too.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that's on that record.
Oh, the song.
The song.
Yeah. Fucking A.
Yeah. With the hiss and the shitty, what was the name of that? The Maestro drum machine.
Yeah.
And I found Maestro samples online and downloaded them and made this drum loop that I really liked. And then just cut some real quick together, just quick cut some wah-wah guitar and some bass. And I just had this little arrangement of this thing and just started developing it more with Skin. And he's like, man, we should give this to Cam from Cure for Paranoia. And we wrote out some lyrics for some kind of hooks to get the ladies to sing. Mm-hmm. And before you know it, we've got this very unique thing called the Math, which has a a very throwback Sly in this that era Sly feel to it, but then it brings in this modern soul melodic vocal, and then what sounds like maybe a early 2000s hip hop verse, by this guy that's just spitting about a lady on this track, and it's like blending all of that stuff together. When you first start and it's just a drum machine that you think sounds kind of sonically badass, and you come up with a half-ass bass line and then some weird wah guitar, and you're like, this is kind of cool. And then you sit back and realize how it got from here to here, and think, I would have never made these choices to get there.
Right.
But my partner had a vision, and we shared that vision, and we got to the finish line, and I made a great track, which I just fucking love. Yeah.
There's trust.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I feel that way with Ryan.
Yeah, I can tell.
And like, I know it's his art. I know they're his songs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel ownership of it, but he gives it to me.
But you have to have ownership of the idea or of the song, but you can have ownership of a shared vision.
Yeah.
And those things are invaluable, because without you, his songs may not end up the way they have without you guys working together. There's value in that. And I believe that is an intangible that is so underappreciated.
When you understand somebody, when you have that love and trust, like you're talking about with Carter,
mm-hmm.
and now, with Skin, is like, there's this acceptance. It'd be nice to just go, hey, I have this idea, and it would be sweet for someone to go, that's great, that's beautiful. But it's a further level for someone to come in and go, that's cool, this is what it makes me want to do. Yeah. And for you to be open enough to be like, hey, okay, yeah, come on, hit me with it.
Yeah.
And once you've done it a few times and you realize the formula works, and that someone else's input does make your art, your idea a little cooler, a little better, because you're sharing something or like different lens kind of thing, then something really amazing happens.
And I think also the fact that he is not a traditional musician that plays a specific instrument is so great to me.
Yeah.
Because if I hand this to, if I give this idea to a drummer or a guitar player, they're going to say the same thing. It's like, I love this idea. What if it did this? They're going to grab an instrument and play something that to them is really cool. And if you don't like that, and they're not on that same level with you as far as not getting their feelings hurt, that's going to shut them down. I don't like that part. Or I don't like the groove you're playing. That sucks. That sucks to hear those things.
Yeah.
It really does. But when you're the ones that are kind of creating it together, and you hear his input and his vision, he says, what if we did this? And what if we took the groove and did more of a fill in the blank thing? What if we did more of a Michael Jackson Rock With You drum intro here? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I don't have to get him. His feelings aren't going to be hurt because he's not performing it and me going, oh, that's not quite it. That's not it. That's when you bring in Jackie Whitmill and go, we want something that's kind of like rock with you to get into this song. And then he just goes through some different ones and you go, that's the one.
Mm-hmm.
He's a hired gun, man.
Right.
He's
got no skin in it.
He doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
He may be having a great time playing the music and doing the session and all that. But that's
like,
the
you like that?
thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
It all comes back to Steely Dan. They were onto something. They were like, fuck this whole band thing, man.
Yeah.
You get a couple of guys just to come up with some ideas, and then we bring in Steve, what's his name?
Gad?
Steve Gadd. Yeah. Bring in Carlton, all this. Yeah.
There's
Chuck Rainey. You got this, Chuck.
That's not
a bad trio there, bud.
Fucking hey. That's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah.
And then Skin's also like the A&R man, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He's the co-owner of the label that puts the shit out, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, to be able to take these things from your office, your bedroom, and be working with someone who's like, we can put this out. We can do something. I think that injects a little bit of like meaning and energy into stuff. And I like you guys have a way of like, oh, we're putting out a single, we're dropping, there's like intentionality, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times you're not stuck in that. I have to make a record. I have to get out and promote it. I don't know. You guys have like done a cool thing of breaking that up in a very cool way. And then how does your solo album come about?
That, honestly, Grady, that was just a vanity project. Mm-hmm. That was me exploring updating a genre to my liking and creating a character and doing some demos with no intention of releasing them. Just for fun. These would have lived on a hard drive somewhere. I would have been cool with it, but I made the mistake of playing it for Luke Sardello, the owner of Josie Records. I played the first song that I wrote, which I guess not at the time for that record, the first song of that kind of ilk that I wrote called I Found a Way. And he said, we need to release this. We need to make a 45 and release this as is. I go, as is? I mean, it's got like a drum machine and super lo-fi. I did this at home. And he goes, no, it's great. And it's that kind of mid-century space age rock, croonery. I don't know. It's to me, it's like Chet Baker living with Les Baxter and that whole, whole world. What are some of the other Esquire, that kind of stuff with the Farfisa organ and the vibraphone and space sounds and shit like that. I love that stuff.
I do too.
Stereolab. I mean, they kind of would be the most modern connector to that genre, I think. And I just did that one tune, and he liked it so much and was so excited about it that it made me excited. So I wrote 8 more songs that kind of fit in that world, and I would just send them to him as kind of like a musical consultant, and he would just give thumbs up or what if you did this or whatever. And then by the next thing you know, we had 9 songs and a cover of these drum machine recordings that I just sent to Jordan Richardson, a Grammy-winning drummer, producer, and said, can you mix these? And he did. And we said, put it out on vinyl, and it sold, I don't know, 4 or 5 copies.
Fucking A.
Yeah. But whatever.
Yeah.
The fact that they did a limited pressing, and it was just so nice to do something that was completely all me, that's me locked in a room doing this real, what was intended to be a lo-fi budget recording into something that actually sonically sounds pretty goddamn good on vinyl on a decent system. I would never make that same record again now. Mm-hmm. I have no intention of doing that again. But it has definitely inspired me to do more just me solo stuff. And I've got a bunch of stuff. I've got enough for another record now. And I'll probably just go like the Daniel Markham way and just release it myself. And I have a lot of respect for Daniel and I do too. How he manages his stuff and how he puts it out, and just release it digitally. Maybe they'll do a limited run of 100, 500 records and move a few copies, but it's there. And it was just a lot of fun to do. I love exploring that world and developing that particular character of whoever that was in that on that album.
That just the freedom, or someone just encouraging, like, oh man,
makes a difference.
This is cool. Follow this. Keep going.
It's amazing.
I think that's great. Where do you see it? Is it a different thing? Move, like, kind of take it in a different direction, or like, what do you want to do next?
Well, I've got a trilogy written about that character that I think can kind of put a bow on it. He's just I don't know who he is, but he's a guy that I've talked a little bit about, this imaginary guy that I had in my brain that lived in like 1959 and was kind of a piece of shit, not really good husband to his wife, kind of the $30,000 millionaire of the time that would like every woman's worst nightmare to wake up next to. Maybe kind of, oh, this guy's kind of interesting. I'll go have a drink with him. And they wake up the next day. And it's like, oh my God, what did I do? He's that guy.
Yeah.
And we've been that guy to other people, I'm sure, in our lives. We just don't know it. But
yeah,
we've all been that guy. And he was just kind of like this amalgamation of fantasy and imagination, and probably maybe the worst parts of me that I have, and the worst parts of my behavior that maybe I've exhibited in the past, and to just kind of put it all on this one guy. And he's a dude that seemingly tried to get it together by the end of the record because he had a baby, and he's like, oh, I'm going to be a father now, and I'm going to stay at home more. And by the last song, he's trying to hook up with this woman and being very forceful about it in a creepy way. What's next for this dude? Well, I've got a trilogy written where he kind of becomes so self-obsessed and delusional that he becomes a serial killer.
Fuck, man.
Yeah. And dies by suicide by cop. So,
holy shit.
Yeah, things go really, really bad. You thought he broke bad in the first record. There's a trilogy that he gets, things go really poorly for him. So, and I'd like to put a bow on that, but yeah, it's inspired me to continue writing solo material and singing, and a lot of it's kind of gone. Like half of it lives in that Chet Baker world, that Elliott Smith world, and the other half is very power pop. That's
cool.
Yeah. So I may do like a full length, and then half of it kind of more croonery type jazz ballad stuff, and get some decent guys to come in and do horn and upright on it, real drums, and then another one's kind of more like a 90s kind of Posies, Teenage Fan Club, power pop kind of thing, which I love that stuff.
I know you do.
I don't know. I love music. I'm like you, man. I just love it all. If it's good, I love it.
It's cool I think it's awesome to be able to like pull in so many like what are thought of as disparate things, because we can get kind of tunnel vision, and I don't care for it.
Yeah, same.
There's something, I feel like there's something you might owe to your audience a little bit, but really it's just if it's good or not.
Right.
That's like the main thing. I have this, anytime anyone wants to like fuss over like production, this is probably why I've kind of given up on that to an extent, is like, what does it really matter?
Mm-hmm.
Like if the song's not good, no one's going to listen to it.
True.
No one is ever going to give a shit.
It's true.
There is no amount of bells and whistles and shine you can put on something to make something that is bad or ordinary good. Now, you can lipstick up a pig with some kick-ass sonic stuff and production choices that will catch the ear, but it won't have longevity. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you go, that sounds cool, but it's the record that you listened to once and you're like, yeah, not really going to put that on again. I got what I needed out of that, and you move on.
Like, I love country production. I like soul production. Those are songwriters writing great songs with great musicians.
Playing them live. Great
singers.
Yeah.
Great producers.
Yep.
Like at no level.
What can go wrong?
Right.
Yeah.
At no level was someone like, that's okay. Or like, we'll just gloss over that or whatever. It is like everyone at every level of this is at the top of their game.
Yeah.
And competitive,
Yeah. I mean, the most production you would get probably is like, hey, can you get the guitar player to turn his amp against the wall a little bit? There we go. That'll work.
Yeah. Well,
I'm a producer.
Even the ones who are, like I'm reading the Tammy Wynette biography now, and like Billy Sherrill, very, very lush strings, kind of, a
countrypolitan
production. He got a hold of, through his association with Tammy, got a hold of George Jones for a little bit, and I love that style of production.
Me too.
But
it's kind of like the wall of sound for country music.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, nailed it on the head, man.
Yeah.
That's it. So like, that stuff is good, but I'm not going to listen to it because of the production. the songs have to be good. It has to start with a good song. That is what's important, you know?
Yeah.
And so with what you're trying to like tie this into what you're talking about, if you have cool ideas, no one will care if I went from loungy jazz to power pop in just a couple moves. No one's going to give a shit as long as it's good.
I think so.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, you know, you create, I think you have a, you know, like, you know, I mean, I think anymore, all of us are sort of creating our own little brand, which is a cheap way of putting it right now. But all of us are going, hey, are you interested in me and what I'm doing? Would you like to hear me talking to a microphone? Would you like to hear me? Would you like to consume some of my art?
Yeah.
You know, like we're sort of in this, that's sort of like what our industry is becoming.
Yeah.
Is a little bit of like, I got stuff here. If you're interested in it, you can, you know, maybe you're only like this side of it or that side of it, but you know, I am a creative person. I do like doing a lot of different things, you know, and here, dig it if you want. And hopefully they will. And
by and large, you know, you're talking about like this podcast and the you know, that's the world that I'm, you know, that's paying my bills right now. It all just kind of comes down to the recorded medium. You know, I'm such a huge fan of the recorded medium, and thank God that was invented. And we do it for a number of ways. I feel like we write these songs and we participate in these processes. It's to kind of process life in real time. You know, we're just working through stuff, and you want to call it art. That's great. You know, I think the ones that end up being elite at it and people and are well thought of and prolific and whatnot, you can call that art. But I think for the most part, it is just kind of us processing our thoughts and processing our experiences and life and trying to get it into something that is manageable, something that is bite-sized, that we can put it down and look at it. And it can be manic. It can be literal at times. It can be opaque. You know, it can be a lot of different things, but it's just our experiences and our thoughts just being recorded. And hey, if you have any interest in this, here it is. You know, if you have any interest in listening to this podcast or listening to my little record that I made, here it is. And if you don't, I don't care, because I did it. And there's something to be proud of. And we also don't know where these things end up one day. You never know. Like all of the things that you're doing with this, I was in that band. And who else I talked to? I talked to Jason Janik about this. We did a podcast together about a year or so ago. And what you're doing, whether you realize it or not, with this type of content, I wouldn't compare mine to this because mine's more just jackassery for the most part. But you're kind of being an archivist of an area, of a scene, of a place and a time. Yeah. And yeah, right now, maybe it's just your buddies that are listening to it, or, you know, somebody's going to listen to it because they really like that Gary Stewart biography, which was a great one, by the way. I was on a long trip and I listened to that whole thing from stem to stern. It was fucking awesome. He's killer. But these are the little things that, you know, that they might find in the time capsule 40, 50 years from now when we're long gone, that give insight to people of what things were like. Yeah. And we're not going to be around to enjoy that or be able to appreciate it and sit back and go, look what I did. But I think it's important to do these things. You know, I'm glad that we have these versions of what you're doing right now that were done 100 years ago in the medium that was available to them at the time. You know, because we can find those little books that were not very popular, but then they get discovered, and it's now it's my favorite book. Oh, you never heard of this author? You never heard of this podcast? It's great. A guy from Denton, Texas, talked about all those. Interviewed the guys in Midlake and Slobberbone and Centromatic. What the fuck, really? Yeah, you got to listen to these things. This stuff is cool, and it's fucking relevant, whether you realize it or not right now. I do have like an understanding of that, or at least I want to process it for myself. I'm glad. And like, I want to hear your story, and I know it's a part of this bigger story, and like how do you relate to Brave Combo or whatever?
you may not think very much, but we are like a part of this larger thing. And I want to, there's a part of me that's like, I want to talk to some of these people before they're gone.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be a long time before you and I are gone.
I hope
but
so.
there's other guys, there's other people I want to talk to who, I may not have as much time with, that I want to get their story down on tape and preserve it for that reason you're talking about. I'm hoping at some point there is a, just a large archive or story of this scene, because I've had to kind of make sense of it for myself. And I don't, I would be that annoying guy at the bar talking to Joe Cripps, being like, what was that? How did you, and start talking to him about that. And it's like, this is so far from what Joe wants to talk about at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, just, listen to this joke.
He wants to talk about chicks and Norm Hitzges.
Yeah.
That's what he wanted to talk about.
Yeah. So this is like my way of like, okay, I'll get you in a room. I'll put a microphone in your face and we will try to hash this out and hopefully tell the story of, just because hopefully someone else down the line will be as interested in it as I am.
Yeah. I was so glad to do that. And I remember you telling me, hey man, I know how to record this thing remotely if you just want to do it at home. And I remember suggesting that earlier on. And then I listened to like 4 or 5 more of these. I got to go to Denton. I need to just drive up there. Can't even tell you how many years it's been since I've driven up and hung out in Denton. I was like, no, I want to see your face. I want to be in a room with you.
Yeah.
I want to drive up dumbass 35. I want to take the Fort Worth Avenue exit and drive over here and see I don't know what this festival is going on over here that looks like a big arts and crafts thing that's right on the street.
That's the Saturday community market.
Okay.
Every Saturday.
Drive by that. I want to drive by the old Taco Bueno, see if it's still there. And it's gone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What a shame.
I know.
Yeah. That was
right.
Me and Brent's go-to back when I was playing in the interim between Slobberbone and the Drams. But my history up here is, like you talked about, we played in Current Leaves together. Like I said, I worked with Brent on the Drams record before there was a Drams. You know, when Brent, and Slobberbone kind of, I went through hiatus mode when Brian moved to Florida.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I was playing bass with them, doing Slobberbone shows, and coming up here and recording with him at his house when he was creating all the tunes like Fireflies and all these songs for the new Drams record. And just being a part of that was just so much fun. And then, all the gigs at Dan Silverleaf and being too drunk to drive home and having to crash on somebody's couch and that horrible feeling the next morning of, oh my God, I've got to drive to Dallas.
Yeah.
And it's a wonder.
I'm in fucking Denton.
But dude, that's the thing. It's like now at the time where my life was and the things that served me at the time, it was Dallas for me, because Dallas fed my dopamine addiction that I still had back in my 20s and 30s. So Denton to me is I had great relationships here. And there's so many people up here that I love so deeply and have, I think, more authentic connections and friendships with a lot of folks from Denton than I do with people in Big D.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe that. And it's the kind of friendships that I haven't seen you in years, not like a long, long time, but handful of years.
Yes.
And I can just walk into a room and give you a hug. And it's like, we just pick up where we left off. There's no, well, shit, man, you never call. Why don't you, no hurt feelings or anything like that. We're just dudes. And there's just something about the laid back nature of this city that didn't serve me at the time, or otherwise I feel like I could have become a real Daniel Markham type surrogate member of this community. I felt like I kind of had my foot in the door of being the cool Denton kid, because I was coming up here a lot to rehearse and record and do things and, at Echo Lab and playing at Dan's and having all the different friends and other bands and all of that. But you got to live here you got to get an apartment here or rent you a little house here off of Hickory or something to be able to consider yourself in the fold and make it last a long time. But I just, like I said, but Dallas just fed my addictions a lot more at the time and served me more. But now this is what I live in a neighborhood now in Dallas that is basically quiet, sleepy Denton.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. And I'm as close to a grocery store as you guys are.
Yeah.
Or as far away from a grocery store as maybe you might be in Denton from one, depending on where you live. It's kind of like I've customized my life to be a lot quieter and a lot sleepy and less distracting. So yeah, I could see Denton serving me now for sure.
I came from Dallas, so I knew I wasn't gonna stay there. Like, you just can't, like, probably how you feel about your hometown or whatever.
Sure.
It's just like, but I do love it. And I tell people who don't, Dallas is a great punching bag. So, but I do tell people, like, it's a great town if you know where to go, like you gotta,
there's pockets.
Yeah. And if you can end up in the wrong place and have a terrible time.
That's
but
any big city.
I mean, yeah, I think in some, though, take like New Orleans or Austin, for example, there's a little bit of a, like, a funnel.
Yeah.
You can be like, it's kind of here, and you can navigate your way to that, to a cool spot.
Yeah. That's true. You don't have to maybe look for it as hard, but
yeah. I think, and Dallas has that to a certain extent, but like, to me, and something about the smallness of Denton is just like, you will find it. And the thing about the music here, about how there's a jazz school, there's a hardcore scene, or there was, or whatever, and there's an experimental. It's like they all kind of fit together, but don't necessarily commingle. This is just a place where I think it feels okay to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's cool. Like there, whereas I know from experience, some shit just doesn't fly in Dallas, and some shit doesn't fly up here.
True.
Because I had friends in Dallas, create a band with them and get the, people play to a room of crossed arms of people being like, I don't know about this.
Dallas is so much more performative. It really, truly is. It's like if there was somebody that I hadn't seen in 5 years in Dallas, and I walked into, I don't go out anymore, but if I just happen chance ran into the Lakewood Landing one night, and this person that I was good friends with, but I hadn't seen or really talked too much in 5 years, was sitting at the bar, it would be, whoa, bro, what's up? Oh my God, hug and dapping and all that shit. Let me buy you a shot. If I walked in to Dan's on a slow Tuesday night and Dan Baum was sitting at the bar, and I walked up and he, sent somebody behind him, he'd turn around and look at me and go, whoa, what the fuck are you doing here?
Yeah.
Hello. That's what it would be. Yeah. Hello. That's the difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah.
I
just
love it.
Like, I knew you'd come back.
Yeah. What are you doing here?
Yeah.
That's the difference, man. I love this city so much. And
well, it loves you, man. I think everybody, you're a part of it, man. It's
that's the nicest thing anybody could say to me today. The one good thing I'm going to do is I am going to head back, and because I am in close proximity of Interstate 35 East, by the time I hit 635, there's a Josie Records right there, and I'm going to go find me an Amy Mann record.
Yeah, is that what you're into? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because we were talking about that at the beginning.
You still buy records?
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just had a Sonny Rollins record show up in the mail yesterday. Yeah. Yeah, we didn't even get to the jazz element of our lives, man. Maybe we could do this again sometime.
Part 2.
Yeah, I would love to.
But yeah, thanks for coming up. Thanks for hitting me back up. I knew I was going to get you at some point.
Yep.
But I'm really glad you initiated the conversation.
Shit, we almost went 2 hours, bro.
Let's do it again.
I would love to. I could talk to you all day, man. I'd love the hang, love the conversation, and it just it feels good to come up here and just kind of have some good vibes and good memories about all the fucking great people. We didn't even mention Midlake and Polito and our gig at Dan Silverleaf when we opened up for Midlake, but we didn't really open up for Midlake, and Aaron White got mad because we weren't sharing the stage and did a Midlake impression that didn't go over well with the band, and so many great stories.
Stay tuned for part 2.
You got it.
I love you, man.
Love you, brother.
Thanks.